Support WrestleTalk!
Tell a friend. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today is a fantasy booking warfare episode, and we'll be tackling Survivor Series 2017. And we're going to be doing a few crap gimmicks as well. If you want to get to either mine or Luke's pitches right away, please click the timestamps in the video description below, or stay right here while we're going to do some crap gimmicks. You excited?
I'm always excited for crap gimmicks.
I'm not excited for fantasy booking warfare.
Yeah, okay, so I suppose we need to open this up now. We might as well do this before we actually jump into the crap gimmicks. You said you were struggling with today's fantasy booking warfare, and I said, just before we came in to record, I'm not going to bring this up because I feel like you're only doing this so that you can get sympathy votes, just in case yours or it's either you can get sympathy votes in case yours is a bit pants, or you're trying to downplay everyone's expectations for it to be pants, then it turns out to be really good.
What? No. It's really bad, everyone. And I feel really bad about it, that I've let you down. And Luke's been walking around the studio like boasting, being an absolute heel. He told me that I'm not going to get a chance to jump off the cage. He's going to throw me off it. Let's throw him off. That's how this works. So, crap gimmicks.
So you're asking the Swap Nation to be the Sami Zayn in this scenario?
Yeah,
to pull you off the table while I crash through it.
That'd be good. Well, I'd be the babyface Shane McMahon. I don't know if I want to be him. And the whole idea of you'll see when we get to the Survivor Series concept, we've approached it very differently. I've sort of booked one feud to end in a sort of not even a main. I've booked like a mid card feud.
Is this why you're so down on it?
No, I like it. It's just if I was booking Survivor Series, I wouldn't have made it the main event. And what worries me, you then told me, I booked a whole show.
Not an entire, more or less a whole show, yeah.
So and I was like, I booked this solid mid-card feud that I'm into, but it might be dwarfed or like all consumed by all your stuff.
Well, let's see. Let's do some crap
gimmicks. Joseph Cabello has got in touch on Patreon, and this is his pitch. He would be a mean, hypocritical heel. His main gimmick would be that he believes...
He's called Censor.
Censor. Yes, that isn't in here, actually. His main gimmick would be that he believes TV needs to be cleaned up, starting with Raw or SmackDown, whatever show he may be on. To really turn the crowd, in his first promo, he would come out and interrupt someone like Dean Ambrose and say his main catchphrase, "Now that is not appropriate." He would get huge heat from the crowds when he says stuff like, "Your parents would let your kids watch stuff like this." You parents, and be like a bum. Doesn't even care if people bleed on PG-13 content. So he's talking to Dean. His finishing move would be the censorship, and he would just think it's great for families and a role model for kids, and he does everything to bully people and controlling, and is only truly worried about one word, and that's censor.
The problem with this gimmick, Joseph Cabello, as many people might have noticed from reading that, is that it's Stephen Richards' gimmick in 2000 when he was the right to censor. Which is
17 years ago.
Legit one of my favourite gimmicks of all time.
It was brilliant. It was really good.
So good.
Undercard act.
Oh, it was perfect as well, because they had the WWE, or WWF at the time, had the Parents Television Council really coming down on them to like say that you are doing horrible things. They got like Al Snow's toy pulled from Toys R Us because
of the head.
They believed it came with a severed head. It didn't. It came with head. They just didn't know the product. And so they were really coming down on them. So they created this heel character in Stephen Richards that would come out, be the Bible Belt style character, and be like, "The right to censor, do not believe in what you're doing." It's hard to do a Stephen Richards voice.
You're right there.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. It caused the back of my throat. But now Stevie does it. I mean, I know he's got throat issues, so he's making a joke.
John Laurinaitis.
He is John Laurinaitis. And he had like this whole group of them, and they used to just beat up people who they thought needed censoring.
Not just any people, but people like the Godfather, who was forced to change his ways and become the good father.
Yeah,
Val Venus.
And that was the genius of it, because the Parents Television Council specifically targeted Val Venus, a former porn star, and the Godfather, a pimp who talked about smoking marijuana all the time, and then they turned them heel, so it became Val Venus and the Good Father. Oh, it was a great time.
So we can't sign your gimmick because it's actually when it was done, it was really good. And this is about crap gimmicks.
It got so over.
It got really over. I guess, what's his name? The guy who wears a suit on 205 Live. Can't believe
Drew
I'm forgetting
Gulak.
his name. Yes, I guess Drew Gulak is kind of doing something similar these days with the no cheering, no top rope moves.
I can't believe you managed to forget the best thing about
I
205
know,
Live.
yeah. Well, Enzo Amore is the best thing.
He's no Drew Gulak.
Daniel Bramlett has gone in touch as well via Patreon, and his pitch is Mr. Distraction. The guy comes out doing a normal entrance, but he always walks out with this button device, and he places it in the corner when he gets in the ring. As the match goes on, he is thrown into the corner, like an Irish whip into the turnbuckle, and he steps on this button. And that causes a random thing to fall from the rafters. As the crowd are cheering in excitement, look, a thing. The opponent's getting frustrated and distracted by the objects that are falling, and you may have guessed it, boom, Mr. Distraction gets the roll up for the win.
See, now, I think that the button should actually trigger something on the Titantron.
Yeah.
Like someone's entrance music. So a random other person's entrance music. And that could be sort of the running gimmick of what entrance music is going to be played this week that is going to distract the person that he is facing.
It's kind of like what Dolph Ziggler's doing at the moment when he was trying out everyone's entrances.
Being awful.
But more effective, I guess, because it would be used to win matches. I guess logistically, you don't want to be throwing stuff off of the rafters.
No.
You're not always going to be 100% certain you can get up there.
Yeah. It makes me think of Earthworm Jim, the first level when you're in New Junk City, and I think it's the end boss. There's lots of just stuff just randomly falling.
That's a reference I'm sure everyone got. So I'm glad you made it.
Well, considering that, sorry.
You don't have to apologise. I was only being silly. The last one is from Lena Oxton via YouTube, and they have written Mr. Champion. He is a delusional wrestler who believes he's a 50-time world champion and a 50-time Hall of Famer.
So a delusional wrestler, essentially, who just believes that he is better than everyone. A perennial jobber, you might say. It's
not enough meat.
There's not enough meat, though. Unfortunately, not.
I'm starting to think, though, that to me sounds like the accomplishments of Vacant. If they came out in one of those full blacked out bodysuits and a question mark on their torso, A, it would make thumbnails a lot easier for me and Luke to make, and B, Vacant. I wouldn't mind signing Vacant as a character.
Yeah, the empty creator wrestler slot.
Yeah, that's a crap gimmick, and he's so decorated.
He is very
Always
decorated.
Always the interim champion. That is a solid hand. We're going to put the belt on you while we find someone else or have a tournament to decide another one. So, shall we get on with fantasy booking warfare?
So I'm going first because I won the last Fantasy Booking Warfare, which was How to Save the Cruiserweights, which I did by essentially just redoing the Cruiserweight Classic, but it was better than your one, which was about Trios Championships, I think.
No, it was about the Kings of Wrestling faction and getting rid of the weight division and making it more like the X division.
And everyone's comment on that was like, you didn't save the Cruiserweight division, you killed it.
No, I just got rid of the weight. Yes. Well, yeah, okay. I'm worried I'm going to lose this one because of a similar misunderstanding of the concept.
So that means I am going first, which does mean then I have going first curse.
Don't try and get sympathy.
I'm not trying to get sympathy.
Already.
We're just laying out groundworks. That this is what usually happens. The general rule of thumb that has been explained to us is that whoever goes second usually wins. Usually. So I'm looking to break the going first curse.
This is a complete heel move on Luke's part. Trying to get how dare you try and get sympathy when I'm trying to get sympathy?
Also, so on the video that I did on Tuesday about better teams for the Shield to feud with, someone in the comments said that every time I do a fantasy booking warfare, my only tactic is just to bring up people from NXT. So on that note, I'm bringing up... No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing anything.
Well, I was going to say, it's either that or a brand crossing over the brands.
Yeah. And actually, when I was writing out this one, I specifically wasn't bringing up anyone from NXT, even though it would have made my life easier, because it turns out the rosters are quite thin.
Yeah, it always makes it better. Because they haven't got any of the baggage attached.
Exactly. But also, it just makes the rosters very thin. So anyway, my jumping off point is actually currently where we are in the timeline of things. So we are leading into TLC, and we have Survivor Series. Sami Zayn has just turned heel and formed an alliance with Kevin Owens. Everyone, new gimmicks are being debuted, this, that, and the other. Away we go. So, the stories leading into Survivor Series. So I'm not actually going to do a week-by-week booking, but here's all the stuff that's been happening in these 6 weeks we have it from now until Survivor Series. We have had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn double power bombing Shane and AJ Styles into the ring aprons, as we talked about on the last WrestleRamble. So they're going on a bit of a tear through SmackDown, really building this feud between AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. The Shield win at TLC, and I will come on to the reason why they win very shortly. Oh, hello, I've actually started to misspelt Rusev there. So we also had the Ascension continuing their quest to become best friends with the Fashion Police. So we got some nice backstage stuff there, lots of Fashion File segments. That's going to lead into Survivor Series. Samoa Joe has returned and has vowed that he wants to take out the Shield, and he's actually been the most dominating force against the Shield in recent weeks. And Bray Wyatt did not debut as Sister Abigail at TLC, and in fact he said it was all just mind games to distract Finn from his real ace in the hole, and that is the man that he has always been able to brainwash, Braun Strowman. So Big Brawny the Strowman has moved away from the Miz and the Bar and is back under the spell of Bray Wyatt. And that means at TLC, the reason why the Shield was so victorious and so easily defeatable, was so easy to defeat the Miz and the Bar is because they didn't have Braun Strowman anymore. It was a straight 3-on-3 match. And Finn Balor has put together the Balor Club with Galanderson because he needed some backup. Because now Bray Wyatt, his arch nemesis, has got Brawny the Strowman at his side. And it has been announced that the general managers of Raw and SmackDown, although Shane's very busy at the moment, so it's really just been D-Bry and Kurt Angle, have come together and made the agreement that at Survivor Series, we are going to have Survivor Series matches for both Raw and SmackDown. And the winners of those Raw and SmackDown matches, those Survivor Series matches, are going to become a main event. Similar to Survivor Series 1990, if you want to go back into the WWE Network archives and find that. Essentially the way it works is that you have all these Survivor Series matches. The sole survivors from those then become teams later on in the night. So we then have that scenario. And the winner, the sole survivor of that match, gets the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble. That's how we're able to get this Raw versus SmackDown match and have it actually mean something rather than it just being for bragging rights. They've also announced that at Survivor Series there's going to be a Raw vs SmackDown Women's Survivor Series matchup, and the winner of that will get the number 20 spot in the first ever 20-woman Royal Rumble, which will be held in January. So we've got two major Survivor Series matches, all of which have very big implications. So here is the Survivor Series card that we currently have. The show opens with the Balor Club versus the Wyatt family. So the Balor Club is made up of Finn, Galanderson, R-Truth, and the Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Because only one championship is being defended on this show, so Lesnar is there, and the Balor Club have brought him in.
R-Truth.
As I said, the Raw roster is very thin. I had no other names I could put in there. Believe me, I wanted to put in someone better, but that was about the only one. It was like,
CM Punk.
He proper sticks out like a sore thumb amongst that team. And I will admit, it's the one thing that I'm not particularly happy with. And they are going up against the Wyatt family, which is just Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Because Wyatt's like, I don't need other people. Finn, you can bring all the people you want. You can bring your Beast. You can bring your rappers. I don't need anyone else. I've got Brawny the Strowman. So, into this match, Braun eliminates Truth and Galanderson very, very quickly, and then he and Lesnar recreate their end to SummerSlam, where they are just going hell for leather, destroying things around ringside. They're battling, and in the end, they actually just get so lost in their fight that they just battle throughout the arena and get lost. They get counted out, so it comes down to Finn and Bray Wyatt. Finn hits the coup de grace, he wins, he's going on for the Raw side in the main events. The first SmackDown Survivor Series match that we have will be Team Usos versus Team Gable and Jordan. Team Usos is made up of the Usos, the Bludgeon Brothers, and the newly heel Hype Bros, taking on Team Gable and Jordan, which is Gable and Jordan, the Fashion Police, and the New Day. And within this match, the Ascension accidentally cost the Fashion Police their spot in the match. And they tried to help out, but it backfires because they're trying to be best friends, but they're not. And it all leads to lots of confusion. In the end, the winners are the sole survivors of this are both members of the Usos and both members of the Bludgeon Brothers. So they are the sole survivors. That team, they moving on to the SmackDown side for the main event. The next is our second SmackDown Survivor Series match, which is Team Kevin Owens versus Team Shane. And on Team Kevin Owens, you've got KO, Sammy, Rusev, Jinder, WWE Champion, Jinder Mahal, and Baron Corbin. And they're taking on Team Shane, which is Shane McMahon, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Ty Dillinger, and the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. So in this match, we're going to have Nak eliminating Jinder because that can set up some stuff for them down the line. And via interference from Aiden English, Rusev actually pins Randy Orton to actually try and get some heat back on Rusev. But at the end of it, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn both do the double powerbomb spot into the apron, and they take out AJ Styles and Shane McMahon, and they win. They are the sole survivors. So that means the SmackDown team now, in the main event, has got 6 people, because they've got the Usos, the Bludgeon Brothers, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So we've got our final... actually, I might do the women's match now. I've actually written this in order, but I'll do the women's Survivor Series, which is on Team Raw. Asuka, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Mickie James, and Emma, who I'm missing a name, so I've just written M. Taking on Team SmackDown, which is Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Tamina, and Lana, because it turns out there aren't that many women on SmackDown on the heel side of things, or on the women's side of things. So, basically, this one comes down to Asuka is your sole survivor. She is taking the number 20 spot at the first ever Women's Royal Rumble in January. Finally, our last Raw Survivor Series match is Team Shield versus Team Miz. Team Shield is made up of Roman, Dean, Seth, Jason Jordan, gold-blooded Jason Jordan, and Matt Hardy, taking on The Miz, The Bar, Elias, and of course Samoa Joe, who made his return in the weeks leading up to this. The winners at the end of this, standing tall, of course, it's The Shield, all 3 members of The Shield, Roman, Dean, and Seth. They're going on to this main event, and they're going to team with Finn Balor to take on Team SmackDown. Also on this show, we also have our only title defense, the semi-main event of this, a dual main event, if you will. It's the rematch of Charlotte versus Natalya for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. That's why they weren't involved in part of Team SmackDown. So, here's Charlotte versus Natty. Charlotte has the match won. She's going to win. She's got the figure 8 locked in. But who returns? But Bret Hart. And he comes storming down to the ring, and what does he do? He decks referee Charles Robinson. Specifically, it's Charles Robinson that he decks. Natty locks in the sharpshooter. Bret reveals that he's wearing a referee shirt underneath and just asks to ring the bell, recreating the Montreal Screwjob because it's the 20th anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob. So, of course, that happens. Daniel Bryan runs out with questions. What's going on? Bret Hart spits on him. Big heel turn for Bret. And that will lead into a Royal Rumble match in January. So we have our main event, which is Team Raw of The Shield and Finn Balor versus Team SmackDown, which is Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, the Usos, and the Bludgeon Brothers. Giving a bit of a big old push here for the Bludgeon Brothers, I feel. So, right off the bat, because they've got the numbers advantage, Team SmackDown pins Finn Balor, like right away, almost. Like he's barely in the match. And the Shield weren't there to help him. Despite the fact they're on the same team, they just weren't there to help him. The Shield then eliminate the Bludgeon Brothers and the Usos. Sammy then rolls in and gets a quick roll-up on Dean. And then Seth pins Sami Zayn. So we're now down to a 2-on-1 of Roman and Seth versus Kevin Owens, the last remaining man for Team SmackDown. And then who should run in to attack Roman and Seth? The Balor Club. Finn Balor, annoyed that the Shield didn't help him earlier on when he was being pinned, he gets Galanderson to come out, and they kill poor Roman and Seth, and they're just laid out. And then Owens rolls over and pins Seth 1, 2, 3, and then discovers over back the other side of the ring, pins Roman 1, 2, 3. He is your sole survivor at the end of Survivor Series, and he will be getting the number 30 spot at the Royal Rumble. So we've got quite a lot of storylines coming out of this. We've got a heel turn for Bret Hart, leading into a possible match there. We've got Lesnar and Strowman reigniting their feud that people were really enjoying until their terrible match at the last pay-per-view, No Mercy. And you've got Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, The Shield, the Balor Club. You've got all this sort of stuff. It's all leading into the Royal Rumble, which is where we're getting to next. So I haven't booked the Royal Rumble or anything like that, but here's some headlines from it. Asuka announces that she doesn't want the number 20 spot. She wants the number 1 spot. So she comes in at number 1 into the Women's Royal Rumble, wins it and eliminates everyone, and she will face Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania. The Balor Club and the Shield collide in the actual Royal Rumble match. Dear me, bloody patriarchy. Collide in the main event Royal Rumble match, and they set up their match, big WrestleMania match, Shield versus Balor Club at WrestleMania. Nakamura versus Jinder, because Nakamura pinned Jinder Mahal at the Survivor Series, and Nakamura finally gets the win, and he wins the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. And it's Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt, because it wasn't Braun Strowman, because Bray Wyatt's got him under his control. So Bray Wyatt wants the title shot first, which of course he loses because Bray Wyatt's a chump. And then Owens does enter in at number 30. It's the big entrance. He comes out cocky as anything. It's the Kevin Owens show. It's about time. But who should run out of the crowd to attack him but AJ Styles? The returning AJ Styles, who hasn't been seen since the powerbomb into the apron spot at the Survivor Series. He's back from injury, and he attacks Kevin Owens on the ramp. Oh, Kevin Owens, battered and bloody, and he rolls up into the ring. He's like, no, I need to win the Royal Rumble. And then from out of nowhere runs a returning Shane McMahon, who also hasn't been seen since Survivor Series, and just throws Kevin over the top. He was barely in there for 5 seconds. All of that effort to get that number 30 spot, leading into their WrestleMania match of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. And eventually, Braun Strowman wins the Royal Rumble, and he will face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 34, where the monster among men is crowned Universal Champion.
As you're going to pretty quickly figure out, we have taken very different paths here on how to... Like, our truth isn't in mine at all. I'm ashamed to say. So, pretty much everything, everything is how it's been as my starting point. Apart from two things. One doesn't have to. I'll come on to one as I'm doing it because it could go either way. But but the main one is that my story starts the day after TLC, which is on the 22nd of October, and of course culminates at Survivor Series, which is what the aim was. And that's on the 19th of November, meaning there are only 4 episodes of Raw between them. When I thought this up, I just assumed there were 6 weeks in between, like how SummerSlam had lots of time in between that and the next pay-per-view. But I was incorrect. So I booked a 6-week thing, really. And to be honest, it is a much longer thing than that, but I've shoved it into the 6 weeks anyway. I think it would be a lot better. It's like... I'll just get on with it. Right, so at TLC, the things you need to know, the results are the Shield beat Braun Strowman, The Miz, and The Bar, and the reason for this was because the heels just weren't working together as much of it as a unit as the Shield are, because of course the Shield have everything behind. They have all the history of working together, whereas the heels just collided, and it was Sheamus or Cesaro, to be honest, probably Cesaro, who took the fall there. And the Demon King, Finn Balor, beats Sister Abigail, Bray Wyatt. So he did do the Sister Abigail character. That happened. It's weird how you did a Balor Wyatt thing, especially because we have both been very down on this feud. Yet I am continuing it. So, this is the Raw after TLC. I'm just going to run through the bits that pertain to this story that I'm telling. So, Finn Balor opens Raw. He comes out, and in the ring, there's an interviewer there to interview him, and he just cuts a short promo that is effectively, now I'm finished with Bray. I'm going to get my rematch for the Universal title that I never lost, Demon versus Beast. And then he turns over to Curtis Axel or someone and says, and I start with you. That's all he says. hardly any words because he's not brilliant on the mic in the slightest. Axel looks comedy worried as soon as Finn, this like attitude change when he looks at him. Bell rings, Balor runs at him, flying dropkick that he does, coup de grace, 1, 2, 3, Finn wins. So you're like, oh wow, Finn has come out of TLC in a big way. This immediately goes into Michael Cole doing a 2-camera link where he's like, well, Finn's doing just fine after Sunday's match there, but how is the man he beat, Bray Wyatt, handling his loss? In the first of our 3-part series, WWE correspondent Abby Taylor has spent the day with the Eater of Worlds. So it's almost like a pre-taped vignette, which is... I'll come on to that later, which is sort of like a Louis Theroux piece, which is, like an investigative journalism, documentary, voiceover-led thing. But they're in the show too, if you've never seen Louis Theroux stuff. So it's about 5 minutes. It's all shot at the compound, and Bray's hobbling around his cabin, selling last night's match. He seems more human now, and they do like arty, out of focus shots of him just cooking a meaty breakfast, chopping some wood, just doing man in a forest stuff. And Abby's following Bray around the compound, and 2 little girls run by laughing. Not the creepy kind of girls from The Shining that would have happened before, just normal girls in kind of, not Amish clothing, but that sort of cult out in the woods level clothing. And Bray just goes, don't run too fast now, like he's this jolly old man. And Abby goes, I didn't know you had children. And he just says, they're Rebecca and Thomas's kids. Nice people. Sort of alluding to the fact that there's a bigger group of people in this compound, and it ends with Bray and Abby just sitting down talking, and Bray says, I keep asking myself after last night, what makes a man? What is it that makes a man? I thought it was his demons. A man's demons is what drives a man, but it's not. What truly makes a man? That's my mission to find out. The purpose of life. So, very grandiose, but also at the same time not the supernatural Bray we've been used to. This demon versus Sister Abigail demon conflict really has brought out a more human side of him in his loss. Meanwhile, Braun Strowman is furious around Raw because he has lost 2 pay-per-views on the trot, Brock Lesnar and now TLC against the Shield. Just undirected anger backstage and beats up everyone several times. Like the good old Braun rampaging days of old. So, week 2 of Raw. Raw opens on Braun still going on an absolute tear. He's just assaulting everything, and he hits his first non-wrestler. So he assaults a backstage employee, and Kurt Angle's like, that cannot happen. You're just about allowed to take out wrestlers. You can't hurt staff like that. So I am suspending you. Braun is furious and starts trashing the area, shouting for more competition. I'm not finished with you, inanimate objects kind of stuff. And the commentators are really playing up that Braun's rage has just gotten out of control, because before he used to use this rage and channel it into beating his opponents. He just wants competition. He's quite a measured guy. But now he's unfocused, and Corey has, I agree with Kurt. Like, it's like a wild dog. If it bites you, you've got to put it down. And that's what Kurt's done. So then next up, or not next up, but later on in the show, Finn continues to be built up. He does the exact same template, which is pre-match promo with an interviewer in the ring. Demon beats Beast, then he beats whoever very quickly. The other guy does not get a shot in. Now we have part 2 of the Bray Wyatt documentary that's being filmed with Abby. So Abby's following Bray round the compound, and everyone's preparing for a meal that night. It's like a treat for everyone. A night of festivities. There's a big bonfire getting built in the day. Women are preparing food. Men are sanding down a bench. Really looks like a whole community, sort of like a Walking Dead happy community before everything goes tits up. And Abby has on the voiceover like, this isn't what I was expecting when I thought I was going to meet Bray Wyatt. He's, everyone's happy here. Bray is calm and engaging, without all the frill, and with all the frills stripped away. He actually says stuff that makes sense. So Abby's kind of going native here. And you have a little montage of evening fun, people laughing and dancing and eating by the firelight. It's night now. Bray's happy at the head of the table, sort of laughing and smiling nicely at people. Violinist playing a happy song, some old-timey dancing. And but briefly, there is a shot of Bray talking to two hooded men in the background. That night, all round the bonfire, Wyatt tells a story, and everyone's engrossed, especially the children, all by his feet. And he says, it's about a man who went up against a demon, and no matter how much he tried digging within himself, he couldn't slay that demon. And one girl just said, is that the end of the story? One of the girls asks. Did the man ever beat the demon? And Bray just smiles and goes, we'll have to see. And then we're back in Raw. Braun has not been letting up on his rampage. And he's being escorted out the building now, kind of calmer, in a cordon of like 8 men. You know those big poles with the neck hooks?
Yes.
And so he's got several of those on his neck, and those people are around him with the bars controlling him. He's got handcuffs around his feet and his hands, and they walk him, it's like, don't know how you'd film this time-wise, but they walk him out of the arena and far away from the arena, and they let him go, and they all back off. And that's like how Raw ends, on a cold, just on like a post-credits almost. Braun just there, looking angry. Next week, Raw 3. This is the final part of the Bray series, and Abby says to Bray that he really seems to have changed, almost slightly in awe, Abby's tone is now. And but does he ever want to wrestle again? You seem so happy here on the compound. Bray says he does, very much so. And in fact, I've been training. He shows Abby his training room, says, you know what, I'm glad Finn beat me. I'm glad I got my demons out that way. Like, saying that match was almost like exercising Sister Abigail out of him. And I'm ready to return to Raw. That's it, just nice ending. And so that 3-part series is almost, I want it to be the 3 Faces of Foley promos. That's the way of sort of rebooting and making Bray's character a lot more serious. And immediately after that, Michael Cole, on the announcer's desk, sort of has one of those via satellite interviews with Abby, but she's just backstage. And she's just saying, just not what I expected at all. Really nice guy, really nice people, lovely community down there. And yeah, watch this space on Bray Wyatt. Like all generic cheesy sports stuff. Later on, backstage, Rhino and Heath Slater have been beaten up. Just Slater's out cold, but Rhino's still conscious, but he's been pepper sprayed, so he can't see anything, but he's been beaten up. And Kurt's furious. He's like, how did you let Braun Strowman back in here? And like, it's not like you can miss him. All the security's like running around. In the midst of it all, though, Rhino's telling people, blinded, he's like, it wasn't just one man. It wasn't one man. And Kurt's just like, we need to find Braun. Right. So later on, Finn wins another match. This is like its 3rd match, really on a roll. And Abby this time. She gets in the ring to interview him, because it's always the in-ring interviewer. And just as standard, and Finn starts to say his usual line, Demon beats Beast, to build up to the Brock match. But then the Titantron starts playing. The lights don't cut out, just the Titantron starts playing. And it's like a home video. And it's a static shot of just Bray, not framed up properly, like he's still got his mic in and stuff. And Bray's just talking naturally. It's old and unedited footage. And he's like, oh, Abby, you said. That's a beautiful name. So kind of from when they first met. I finally figured out what it is, what makes a man. It's not his demons. It's not even himself. Do you know what makes a man, Abby? And then Finn turns around confused to Abby, and she just pepper sprays him in the eyes. And she's shocked with herself, and she drops the can. Finn's in agony, like selling it so bad because his eyes are in so much pain. Anderson and Gallows run down to help Finn, and they're shouting at Abby like, what the hell have you done? And Abby backs away in shock. That's that segment. A few more matches, yada, yada, yada. Raw ends, but we do have a post-credits. It's now Braun in a gym, just destroying a punching bag. He's mean, he's angry, he's been suspended from Raw. On the last punch, the punch bag comes off the hook, of course, and it just lands in a heap on the floor. And someone very carefully runs in, gives him a box, and runs away. And we just see Braun open the box, look inside, and that's it. You don't see what's inside the box. Week 4. Kurt and Brian open Raw in a pre-taped backstage announcement, and they say that an agreement has been reached between Raw and SmackDown for talent to appear on both shows in the build to Survivor Series, because in the background of all this, there's a larger thing going on, which is Team Shane versus Team Kevin, and it's going to be interpromotional. Samoa Joe is going to be with Sammy and KO, sort of being the, what did we call them? Death Unit or Killer Squad?
Oh, yeah, no, I can't remember what it was
Big
now.
Man Unit.
No,
The Triple H stuff from earlier this year, and Sami Zayn, I can't think of
Ultra
who else.
Unit.
Ultra Unit, and someone else, and Shane McMahon has AJ Styles and The Shield, so that's your big Survivor Series main event. Later on, Balor is shouting around backstage that obviously Abby's with Bray now. She's under his spell. It's sort of a Harley Quinn Joker scenario. And Gallows and Anderson are trying to calm him down. Later on, Balor comes out to the ring demanding an answer from Bray. Not a long promo, again. We don't want to do that to Balor. And Bray appears on the Titantron and he says, "You beat me as a demon and a man, Finn. I lost to you as a demon and a man. And I've been asking myself ever since, what does that make me? What makes a man?" I finally figured out what it is. It's not his demons. It's not even himself. A man is the average of those people around him. He must be part of something bigger. No man is an island. A man is his family. And then you get the blip. So lights come out. Blip, blip, blip. Lights come back on. Harper and Rowan are on either side of the ring, and Bray is opposite the hard cam with Abby next to him. Now she's sort of looking a lot more Wyatt family. She's not in the robot interviewer outfit as usual. Now this is where we can pretend that the Bludgeon Brothers never happened. This was the other caveat to make the story work. Or they could have the Bludgeon Brothers stuff on and just take off their coats and they're wearing the old Wyatt family stuff underneath. I think it's better if we never heard from them up until this point. So, yeah, that happened, unfortunately. They beat down Balor and then blurp, they're gone before Anderson and Gallows can get there. This is an outdated sentence that I'm going to delete. Now, okay, so Kurt, of course, wants to find Braun. That's the other storyline that's been going on here because he's been beating up Raw talent. And the cliffhanger ending after the final match is that a security team, like with guns and lights, maybe not this much, go into the gym where Braun was last seen. Because that they saw that clip. They know that's where he last was. So they're going in there to look for evidence. And someone's like, "Oh, found something over here." And they pick up a box. And it's the box Braun had. And they open the box. And inside it's the black sheep's mask. And that's the end of that. Kind of like a horror film, I don't know if someone gets dragged out. People get picked off as they're going through the gym. So, Raw 5, 2 weeks out now from Survivor Series. Don't worry, we're getting there. The Wyatt family come down to the ring. Bray talks about how family makes a man and these are his family. He's back to the cult leader now. But there's an important difference because this is character development. It's not character going back to what he was. Back in the day, he was a god. He was really egocentric and he was all about Bray. And the people around him were just kind of minions. And then he seems to have become a single character where he just did everything by himself and this Sister Abigail force within him. Now it's kind of like it's both parts of that. He's really invested in the people around him. He genuinely believes in the family, not the Bray part. So that's where his character is. That's the arc that he's gone on. So he's talking about everyone together, not himself as a god. It's like all of them together are the god. But it is all really just a mask for how he can't beat Balor. Not as a demon, not as a man, but maybe as a faction. Both Balor, Gallows and Anderson come out after last week's beatdown, and they challenge the Wyatt family to a match at Survivor Series. Bray just goes, "Nah, I don't want to fight you anymore. I'm past that. I'm, this serene Buddha. I've got my family with me now." And Balor's like, "F are you? No way, we're having this match," because of course Finn's very angry. Gallows and Anderson are very angry. Bray goes, "I'll only agree to a match with you if it's your club versus my family, and we can see, effectively, who has the better ideology. Oh, and one more thing. Your Universal title rematch will be on the line." So this is the one that Finn still hasn't had. And Finn agrees. As soon as he agrees, thinking, It'll be a 3-on-3. Sure, Sister Abby's there as well. So it kind of, that doesn't get revealed. So it's just a subtle thing. So subtle, calling her Abby instead of Abigail. She's so like the numbers are already not in their favour. You got 3 Wyatts and Abby, and then you've got the 3 of the Balor Club. But then the music hits as soon as he's agreed to that. Braun! And Braun storms down, enters with the black sheet mask, and the Wyatts attack the Balor Club from behind. Bray then commands Braun to power slam each Balor Club member. And then they just close that segment with, they say blood's thicker than water, Finn. At Survivor Series, we'll find out. The next night on SmackDown, confirmed that the 4-on-3 match has been booked. And AJ Styles is now starting to be torn between Team Shane and his former friends, the Balor Club, because he was very disgusted at the Raw events, and he's sort of torn throughout the night, and he has a few heart-to-hearts with Shane, but it's left in the balance. Next week at Raw, one of the many go-home, I'm sure it'll be an excellent go-home show, but one of the matches is Luke Harper versus Carl Anderson, with the respective factions in their corners. So everyone's at ringside out there. Pretty quickly descends into an all-out battle. Bray slaps Braun to make him power slam Finn again. And Braun sort of looks, when that happens, Braun looks standoffish. He's like, what you just do? Okay, I'll do it because you focus my anger. Slams Finn. And then AJ Styles runs in for the save. It's a 4-team, then sort of 4-on-4 face-off for the close. And the Survivor Series match itself is an elimination match, 4-on-4. R-Truth is not involved. And it comes down to Bray and Braun versus Finn and AJ at the end. And Bray's been commanding Braun the entire match, and you can see Braun is not happy with this, because I didn't want to put Braun with the family for a long period of time at all, because I think he's come so far. He's definitely outgrown the family, and this is a way just to start off a Braun-Bray feud. Strowman ends up slamming Bray, letting the Balor Club win. This leads to the Braun versus Bray storyline, sort of a father, the student overcoming the master thread, and it really makes Finn a lot more competitive for his eventual Brock Lesnar rematch. I would put it at Royal Rumble, but I guess you could do it in the December pay-per-view, because Finn now has a badass Balor Club to go alongside him. That's my pitch. But which one was better? There's a poll above our heads right now. If you click the little eye, you can vote for one of us. Which, what did you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you did say to me that you didn't feel like you'd actually booked, like the brief was book Survivor Series. What you did was book Let's Rebrand Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I always tend to do that. I said to Luke before we came in here, because I kind of let slip, because I kept on saying, can I have 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks? And I was like, can I have the Bludgeon Brothers not ever being a thing?
Literally at one point said, I need to go out and have a walk. So it went out for a walk. I played a bit of Super Mario World. You came back in and you were like, I asked if I could have 6 weeks instead of 4. Can we also pretend the Bludgeon Brothers never happened?
Yeah, but they didn't have to.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, we've done fantasy booking warfare before, where we've kind of changed alternate storylines. Not only that, but gimmicks get dropped all the time.
Yeah, so it was because I sort of thought books. Our theme was Survivor Series 2017, so I thought I'm going to book a good elimination match. But you booked the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I had this idea in mind. I think we talked about
the 1990.
Yeah, well, I was kind of like, I really got that into my head because I felt like we were leading towards. Feels like this year we are leading towards more like Raw on Raw 5-on-5 matches and SmackDown 5-on-5 matches. But I was like, well, what would make that more interesting is actually copying that 1990 thing and then booking that. So then you have like these the Raw baby faces versus these SmackDown heels with this actual prize at the end of the road.
One thing that I that was like in my very early thoughts. I had loads of ideas on the table, but I thought I'm not going to do that because I don't know how to make it work. And I didn't interrupt you when we were doing it. Maybe you've got an answer. So you've got a 5-on-5, and the final thing that's at stake is a number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble. What happens if your 3 people survive on your Raw team?
They would have got like the final 3 slots of the Rumble.
How would they decide that though?
Lotto draw.
Oh, okay. I just because I just
That
kept
would have been
thinking,
explained at some point.
Yeah.
In there, but I would have thought like they'd have done it as a very throwaway line because it's very much at the end of it we're only going to have one winner.
We could have a triple threat. Elimination.
You could have had a triple threat, but they're all mates, I suppose.
Yeah, but
yeah.
they want to. I think everyone would want the 30.
Yeah,
I would
right.
definitely turn heel on you to get that 30 spot.
Well, that's fair enough. But what I really like about it, I like the compound stuff with the Louis Theroux. Who's playing Abby, by the way?
I don't know. It would have to be a wrestler. Just call up a. It doesn't matter. It's a character rather than
so
built for a
an
wrestler.
NXT call up.
Yeah. or from another promotion. Or Summer Rae. Who cares?
Or CM Punk. It could be any one of them.
Could be CM Punk.
I actually didn't pick up on the Abby thing until you accidentally said Sister Abigail, and I was like, oh, okay, now I see why she's called Abby.
Oh yeah. She isn't Sister Abigail, but it's just like.
Also, I'm a big fan of Louis Theroux, so that really warmed my cockles. Also, I love it. Kind of reminded me of the Roddy stuff they've been doing down in NXT when they did all the Roderick Strong videos, and those were great because they really rebuilt Roderick Strong. Like before that, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's Roderick Strong, he's grand." But after they did all those video packages, it was like, "Oh my, it's Roderick Strong, he's awesome."
He's got a really good life story.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. The Abby character was originally called, because I think Abby Taylor, I think I called her.
Yep.
She was originally called Abby Rotunda.
Yeah.
I thought, come on, what am I doing? I'm not a GCSE student anymore. That's the sort of crap I would have pulled back then. That is too ham-fisted. If you don't get that, Bray Wyatt's real last name is Rotunda.
Very good. But yeah, I very much enjoyed your booking.
Thank you. I enjoyed yours too. I was a bit overwhelmed with the 5-on-5s. They never had that many 5-on-5s. It was just, I thought it was 2 5-on-5s.
No, there were 4 5-on-5s to lead.
5-on-5s,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, that's what I wanted to it was going to be a real big Survivor Series pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just random matches here and there. So I had world champions in there, but I thought I'm going to have one championship match, which would be the Natty Charlotte thing, which I wasn't going to do. But then I thought, it's the 20th anniversary of Survivor Series. I'll add that in as a little extra thing because that can then build to a match down the line. When you have, you got Bret Hart in Natalia's corner, you've got the triumphant return of Ric Flair to come down, and it's the Hearts v Flairs all over again.
I did not think it was the 20th anniversary. And they do it when it isn't the 20th anniversary.
I know, yeah.
So, and it's Natalia defending the title at Survivor. God's sake. I could go a long time without ever seeing a screw job angle.
I wasn't overly keen on it. I think but I'd rather have that than having to have to book R-Truth in one of my matches.
Yeah.
But man alive, when you look through that Raw thing, if they're not injured, they're in other matches.
Well, I was really digging everything you said, and then all of a sudden, Brock Lesnar and R-Truth. And usually I try and stay quiet and I just went, what? R-Truth.
I couldn't have. There's no one else to put in that spot.
Oh, well, that's all we've got time for today. Please click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk news or WrestleRamble. Subscribe to this podcast on your chosen podcast provider and, of course, this channel. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Oli Davis, and that was Rambling.